Next one is the policy review, road stopping structures on roads and pedestrian accessway closure. And I understand the staff have a PowerPoint presentation for us. Right, I'm sorry, told that we don't require a PowerPoint presentation now, so perhaps you'd like to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To my left is Philip Basher, who's the report author, and you know Lynette to my right. Just a bit of an explanation about the report itself. The changes are minor. They look extensive or significant simply because we've changed the template. The community boards were involved in the process, so we incorporated the feedback that we received from them into the report that you have. The community board delegations remain the same, and the only changes to delegations on these issues are to expand the staff ones to include myself in terms of road stopping matters, because at the moment I think it's sat with the manager of property consultancy.
Yes, that's right.
So these are not significant changes to the road stopping structures on roads and pedestrian accessways closure policies. However, they do look that way simply because we've incorporated them into the new template. The only major change, if you could even call it that, was around shared spaces, and we had to change some of the definitions because previously they had curbs, but as you'd be aware with the shared spaces that we have in town now, particularly across the south frame, they don't have curbs. So that's the most major change that's been made throughout these changes that are in front of you today. So all pretty insignificant.
Can I just add that the report and the process was put through our legal services, who said you're doing it the right way. It's the correct way, and that what we're proposing here is legally correct.
Okay. Good. So would someone like to move it? Melanie, seconded by Tim. So we've got Melanie and Tim. Sarah's got a question, and Yanni's got a question.
Thank you. I'm just looking at page 165 of the agenda. So it's on the structures thing. And the introduction, the first sentence says roads are first and foremost for vehicular and pedestrian use, and it doesn't seem to include all of the other multimodal kind of things that we would normally. And there's no definition for vehicle, and in fact, there's not in the Land Transport Act either. Well, there is, but it excludes things like wheelchairs and stuff. So I'm just wondering whether we should be actually talking about what our roads are for in modern times rather than back when this was first drafted. Just as by way of, you know, people take things in context and stuff, and the very first sentence of the policy is, oh, it's for vehicles.
So I'll let Philip speak to the detail of that, but yesterday at the Transport Committee we did mention that NZTO put out the Accessible Streets package of regulatory changes, which is out for consultation now, and Council would be a submitter on that, and you've indicated that there's a round of councillors that want to be involved in helping to draft that submission. So assuming some of those changes or most of those changes come into law, that may then influence how we define and...
But I'm just the point, you don't actually need to mention specifically vehicles and pedestrians. It could be, you know, for the movement of people. You know, that's for movement rather than for storage, if you like, or...
Yes.
You know, that kind of... Do you see what I mean? It just seems silly to limit it when we'd have to go back and change it later. And it's only in the introduction. It's not in the kind of substance of the rules or anything. I don't know. It just doesn't kind of set the direction.
I mean, roads also have other functions such as allowing the carrying of cables, pipes and such like. So, and these are in the legislation. So
But our first sentence is not that. Our first sentence is roads are first and foremost for vehicular and pedestrian use by the community at large.
Yeah.
Yes, they also do the other stuff, but our sentences
Yeah,
kind of excludes, wheelchairs and,
that was,
I know it's not the intention. It's just that scene setting that we should be thinking about these days.
So if the council wanted us to, we'd be happy to make that change.
Yeah. Just either make it a bit, just make it a bit broader and set the current direction.
So just tell me where you want the amendment. Because I just want
It's the
to-
first sentence of the introduction.
what page?
Oh, it's page 165.
1.5.
Sorry.
165.
Yeah.
165.
156,
165?
Number one in the roads and structures policy on page 165 is the introduction
Right.
at the bottom of the page.
Sorry, it's just gone, right, roads. So roads are first and foremost for the movement of people.
People.
Yeah.
Sure.
That'd be great.
Movement,
And
people
connection.
and connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, let's not redraft it here, but just to emphasise, so if we could make the amendment to emphasise that roads are first and foremost for
Movement
the
of people.
outcome. It's what we want to, it's the
Understood.
connections and people, yeah. And pipes.
Pipe.
Yeah, all right. So with that, the mover and seconder quite happy just to say as amended?
Yep.
Yeah. Yanni?
I just wanted to check what, in terms of consultation and engagement, whether there's been any discussion with the bar owners, down the strip, the terrace, around, the fees and charging, or other places in the city where we've previously had issues.
Being charged.
what, in terms of tables and? in
Yeah,
terms
tables and chairs. We've had, I know in the,
It sits outside this policy. Tables and chairs there is actually two policies we've found, and they are being reviewed by staff at the moment with the idea of delivering some change. Well, certainly updating the matter, but it's not within the remit of this policy. Structures on roads or road stopping or anything.
Is that all right?
oh, okay.
Question answered, yes?
And so just on 175, it talks about allowing other structures that may be permitted, and it goes on to talk about outdoor advertising, and poster bollards, information stations and private bus shelters. Is there anything in here that sets guidelines of what the content could be, or what the scale of those things could be?
Where you've got council contracts or agreements, won't that be covered by the district plan rules?
No.
I believe that they do have a separate lease and licensing arrangement which specifies that there has to, certainly with some of them, it has to have some information, council information, but also that there are restrictions on the type of advertising. You can't have political, we can't have very. So yes, but again, that sits underneath this policy because that is dealt with the provider,
With the contractor. So we would have a contract with an O Media or a Phantom Bill Stickers, which would have detail in and around what they could advertise. So there's three things really. There would be potentially a resource consent requirement under the district plan. There's the approval of the asset owner or council or community board in terms of the structure on the road, and then there's a separate contract which council would hold with whomever it might be, such as Phantom Bill Stickers or O Media, which is around the content, etc. But I think we can foreshadow that potentially going into the future, we are receiving a number of people who are coming to us and seeking to have more digital advertising located on our road, and particularly in and around the central city. And I think we do need to look at that as part of the Christchurch Transport Plan review, what council's response is to that and what it wants to see, and provide some top-down direction from that document, and that might facilitate a further change into these into the future, because it is an issue that we need to grapple with, and it is an issue that we're being approached on a reasonably regular basis from staff perspective.
So this is to put digital signs on road space, airspace on our
As
roads.
opposed to signs on private property.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wondered if it was helpful under 176 around the outdoor advertising, just to make reference to that, not just the district plan, which is very loose really, allows pretty much anything, but you know, maybe we could just have something that would refer to the individual license conditions, or conditions that are negotiated as part of the agreement, so it's really clear. Because I think, I mean, I don't know, we've had private outdoor advertising, which, you know, district plan doesn't seem very good at controlling, and I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that the same controls would apply to that on our own land.
But if it's private, obviously if it's on private land, then we won't have any.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. But if you use the district plan as kind of controlling what goes on the private land as an example for what could be allowed on our public land, it's probably not an ideal outcome in some circumstances. But given what you've said, that we do have individual contracts around some of these services, I just think being a bit more explicit under G might be quite helpful, just so it's not read as kind of, that's just on page 176.
And we're happy to add that if you want. It won't change anything in terms of our contractual agreements that we have with those people, but it can highlight it or daylight it in this document.
Yeah, I think that would be worthwhile.
Is that enough?
Yeah,
Yep.
that would be good.
Okay, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. Any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried.